and we got another couple 2 days down. We got a few more 2 days to go, but you know, all in all, the defense I think is working very, very hard at, like I said the last time, trying to get to the Michigan level. You know, and I said it last time, and it's even more clear now. We've got a long ways to go, but that being said, I'm very, very excited about their want to. They come every night to the meetings trying to learn it. They come out every practice trying to get better. And our practices are hard. Our practices are hard. They have to be. That's the only way we're going to do things. And you know, you see a different guy every once in a while getting past that hump. And that's what we have to do. We've got to get that entire defense to when they get ready to break and when they get ready to give in, to go past it. And you see more and more of the guys getting over that hump, and so that's been rewarding.
You talk about reaching that Michigan level. Is this something that you think you can realistically get to before the season, during the season, or will it take a couple of years to get to that?
I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen, and I fully expect it to happen this year. You know, that's what we expect on defense. That's the only thing we accept on defense, is to get to that level. You never know when it's going to happen. Again, I'll say that the guys are consciously trying to work to get there. Now, whether that work is good enough right now, I can't say yes to that, okay? But I can tell you they are trying to get there, and it's our job as coaches to keep pushing them and keep teaching them and keep trying to get to that level.
How do you define Michigan level to a player that maybe hasn't been here?
Yeah, playing with great technique, number one. Playing with tremendous effort, number two. And number three, being very physical. You know, those are the three things that we have to play. And that we do those three things, now you're playing Michigan defense the way it's always been played here.
From the coaches the other day, we heard some names of guys who aren't necessarily scholarship guys, but it seemed we heard about Brink, we heard about Tony Anderson. Are these guys who, even though they're not scholarship guys, who are in the mix for playing time?
Everybody's a scholarship football player to us. Everybody that's on that football field is a scholarship football player. The best 11, the best 12, the best 13, the best 17, those guys are going to play. And our philosophy on defense is you must go as hard as you can go every snap. And to be able to play that kind of defense, you've got to have backups. You've got to have guys that can come in. You're going to see on our defense guys coming in the first quarter, guys coming in anytime, because they know their obligation is to play as hard as they can when they're in there, and if they do that, that'll be good enough. And then the next guy goes. Now, obviously, some players are more talented than others, but if you play with great technique and you play as hard as you can be successful. And so it doesn't matter to me if a guy's a walk-on or if a guy's a fifth-year player. You know, they're all Michigan football players, and they all are supposed to play that way. And you know that.
Greg, how close are you to maybe having all the defensive linemen look the same? Because I know that's been a big thing for you technique-wise, that they all kind of look the same almost no matter who they are.
Yeah, and I think you're seeing it. It's a gradual deal. I think, what are we, eight practices, if I'm not mistaken? You know, if you would ask me that practice one, I would say, whoa, we got a long way to go. You know, and then all of a sudden, the second practice, we got a couple more guys doing it. And it's not so much them all looking the same, it's them all looking the same all the time. Consistency is huge. You know, we have to be a defense that you play with great technique on every play. Because unless you're a dominant player, unless you are so much better than the guy you're across, you have to play with great technique and you have to play with great effort. You know, and so it's just those guys, every guy getting it, so he's consistent. If we have five contact periods in practice, you know, they got to get all through 5 of them. They got to do all 5 that way.
What has Brink done to simply jump up the depth chart?
Played like a Michigan football player. You know what? And I hate to ever talk about a young man, because I think every time I do that, they go right down in the tubes, you know. But I'm going to say this about this guy, because this guy here has come out every day as tough as he can. He listens to Coach Montgomery on every word, and when he tells him to step a certain way, he tries to step a certain way, and he's really, really physical. And he's another one of those young guys you asked me last time. I think he was probably 250, and we said get to 265, And when he was coming to report, I yelled over the counter, over the railing. I said, "What do you weigh?" And he said, 264. I said, "Drink some water." And sure enough, he went in there and started drinking water. Now I think he's 267 or 268. So he's a guy that if he keeps doing what he's doing, people, Michigan people, are going to be very happy with him.
Did you know much about him in the spring, or is it?
Yes. In fact, in the spring, it was mentioned a number of times because his toughness showed up. And he was only 250 at that time, but his want to and his toughness stuck out like crazy. And that's what we want, 11 guys that play with that kind of attitude. And up through 8 practices, again, I watched him. I always like to look at the film before I make comments on something, but I know I watched him, and I thought he had a good day again today. You know, so.
Been in full pads for a few practices now. Have you been pleased with their tackling abilities, or is that something that's still?
No, it's always something we have to work on. I mean, we had a goal line scrimmage today. The ball on the 1.5 yard line, 4th down, and there were some really, really good things. And had we just clawed to get the guy down, we would have stopped him 2 more times. And that's what usually happens on the goal line, and that'll tell you're tackling right there. Now, the thing that we've really, really emphasized, as I mentioned before also, is big plays. Guys making sure they're cupping the football. And I have seen improvement in that. I've seen a concerted effort of the safeties and the corners and them understanding that we cannot let that ball run through our secondary. And you know, we've got a long way to go on that too, because one big play is too much as far as I'm concerned. But they've bought into that. They're working at that.
Who do you like? Who do you have at that free safety position that you like that is starting to figure that out? You can't let someone get behind them.
There's a bunch of them. You know, I can't signal one out. You know, the one guy that comes to work every day that has been very, very consistent is Jordan Kovacs. You know, he comes to work every single day, and if he doesn't do it right, if I'm a betting man, I'm betting he's going to do it right the next day. You know, all the other guys that are at the safety position all show really bright spots and then lose concentration at times, and that's what we've got to get them through, so they're going consistently through.
In terms of Mike Barton, how does he adapt into the things you're trying to do? You said you pushed him, you know, a number of ways.
I think he's working very hard. You know, I think he's working hard, and I'd say this about every player on our team: they can work harder, and they will work harder. You know, we're not close to how hard we're going to work yet. You know, but I think he's bought in. You know, I know he's bought in. I love him. I mean, you know, here he is. He's probably had 3 different coaches maybe in his career, and the guy comes out and wants to get better. You know, and that speaks a lot for him.
Have you seen that elite talent level that we've seen flashes of in the past? Have you seen that in practice?
I never like to say elite talent level because I don't know if it's elite talent level until it goes against an elite team. You know, I'll never say this guy has elite talent because I got to see that in games. You know, I got to see a guy that game after game is dominating and playing way above his head, and then that's elite talent. You know, and you know, I don't know if we have any, and I don't know if we don't have any, but we'll find out.
How does the safety position change from the 3-3-5 to the 4-3?
I don't know anything about the 3-3-5, to be real honest with you. I know in our safety position, that guy will play a number of different coverages, but always has to keep the ball inside and front. Always. And, you know, so that, I don't know about the other, I haven't studied it that much, but I know in our defense, that safety has to keep the ball inside and in front.
What do you like about Courtney Erie so far? Who's someone else that Brady talked a little bit on Sunday?
I think he's another guy that comes out every day and tries to get better. You know, is he good enough yet? No. You know, and he'll tell you that. But you know what's good about him was when he makes a mistake and when something happens, it bothers him, and he tries even harder the next time. And now he's got to get his technique so it's perfect. You know, if the guy isn't the fastest corner, if he's not the fastest guy on the field, well, he better have great technique. You know, and he better know what's happening. And I think these are all the things these guys are learning all the time.
you getting a better idea of which freshmen might be able to contribute this year?
Freshmen are freshmen, you know what I mean? And we got some pretty good freshmen. Some of them have caught your eye. They also have caught your eye that tell you they're freshmen. You know, I mean, they'll come and make a great play, and the next play you'll go, where are you at? I mean, what did you do there? And that's why they're freshmen. The key for us, again, all 105, it doesn't matter if they're a freshman or they're a senior, the best player is going to play. So if a freshman shows consistent great talent, our job as coaches is to get them on the field as soon as possible. You know, and you know, there's nothing about being a sophomore that you have to play or a junior. The best players play. You're in college now, you know, and so I think there's some freshmen, Sam, that have some pretty darn good talent out there. That they have to prove to us is that they will be consistent, because if you put one out there and he's not consistent, he hurts the other 10.
Can you talk about rotating guys in and doing it early? Do you have a magic number on the line, at linebacker, and the secondary that you want to get game ready?
I think that's what we'll do as coaches. In other words, we'll kind of, as we watch them through practices, through this whole camp, find out who's in best shape, who's not quite as, doesn't have quite as much stamina. And I never like to say you're going to go in for 4 and then the next guy's going to go in. You know, with defensive linemen, what I've always done is make them promise they're going to play as hard as they can play, just absolutely as hard as they can play. And then when they're tired, somebody else will come in for you. Get your rest. You're not demoted. Get back in there again and play as hard as you can. And if you do that, you got 2 waves of guys going at each other. You know, linebacker position, they're not in there tussling all the time. You know, they're pass dropping, they're blitzing, they're doing that kind of thing. Sometimes it doesn't happen as much with them. And it might be a quarter, you know, and then give a guy a rest after the first quarter. But D linemen, you'd love to have a number of plays, and that just all depends on each guy. You know, it's not, one thing you won't see is you won't see 4 new guys going in the front. You know, it's not that kind of thing. It's not a platoon thing. It's each guy has a different barometer that you're going to say, okay, this guy after 5 plays, I'm going to get you in for 2. Just give him a rest. You know, now the thing you have to do is have that second guy vow to that team that he's going to play as hard as he can. I mean, that's what his obligation is. And if he goes in there and doesn't go hard, then this whole system doesn't work.